Okay, now we have our development environment set up. Let's go ahead and add Devise. And Devise is a popular gem for creating authentication in a Rails application. And authentication is just a fancy way of saying a user can create an account and then log into the application. So, first thing I want to do here is make a new branch called Devise. And then in our local project, run git fetch and git checkout Devise. I'm going to clear that out. Next, we actually want to add and install and configure the Devise gem. So I'm going to open up my terminal and run bundle add Devise. And this will go ahead and append this gem to our gem file and run bundle install. Okay, so now that that's finished, actually let's run git status just to see what happened. So you can see here that Devise was added. And now let's go back to the docs and just go through the installation instructions. So we ran this. Next thing we want to do is run run Rails generate Devise install. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so this command created these two files here, which let's see if we can get these open. And we have some instructions here. So ensure you have defined. Okay, so this is for our emails that Devise is going to send. So Devise will send, like, for example, confirmation emails or emails where if you need to reset your password, Devise will handle that. When you create an account, Devise will send you an email letting you confirm your account, things like that. So we need to get this set up for our development environment. So I'm actually going to search for this string in here to see if we have that anywhere. Okay, so we do have some configuration already that's related to action mailer. So I'm just going to add this line right here. I'll even add a comment. Devise. Okay, in production, host should be set to. Okay, so we'll actually. Let's take care of that now. So search for this, see if this is in here. Okay. So let's just take care of this in production now too. Instead of having port 3000 in the host localhost, we actually want to set this just to our application, which we have on Heroku. So now that was step one. Step two, we already have a home page. So if you go to, well, actually our application isn't running yet, but we do have a home page set up. So that's all set. Let's add this flash message real quick. And we'll make sure this actually looks nicer later on. But this is just really to, Rails has this concept of flash messages where you can print something to the screen. Like, for example, when you log in, Devise will say, like, you've successfully logged in. And that's what this code does here. And I'm actually going to wrap this in a main tag. And I'm going to give it a class of container, and that class name is from Bootstrap, so this will just kind of keep things centered on the page. Let's see. So we took care of those steps. We're going to hold off on this step. That just actually allows us to add our own custom CSS and markup to the login page, the sign up page, things like that. But I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. I'm actually going to make a commit right here. So I'll just say install and configure Devise. Clear that out. And let's go back to the documentation. So now we actually want to create a user model, because right now Devise is set up, but we don't actually have the concept of a user. So we'll just create this, we'll run this command right here, but we're going to replace model with user. Okay, so that command created these files right here. And let's go into one of the files that it created was this migration file. And we can see in here, it's going to create a users table, and then there's going to be these columns in there. So there's going to be a column to store the email, a column to store the encrypted password, and then these columns to allow you to recover your account, and also to allow you to remember your credentials. I believe that's what that does. Something that I like to do is making your accounts confirmable, and what that means is you will receive an email with confirmation instructions, and that just avoids people creating accounts with fake email addresses. So I'm going to go ahead and uncomment these lines. I'll keep this one commented it out because that's for reconfirmable. And we also need to uncomment this index here on line 41 because that corresponds with these columns that are going to be created right here. So I think that's all set. And so I'll clear this out. Next one, Rails DB migrate, and that will create this table with these columns. Okay, so our migration ran, and you can see here that it created a new table, and actually I can show you. So now if we go to our schema.rb file, and this just represents what our database looks like, you can see in here that this column or this table was added, and these are all the columns that are associated with it. The next thing we want to do is go into the newly created user.rb file, and we just want to add confirmable to this list of I think these are methods. So this sets up the ability for an account to be confirmable in addition to adding those extra columns in our database. Okay, so if we go to our application, aside from this now being centered, nothing actually changed. So we need to add the ability to create an account and to log in and to log out. So what I'm going to do is open up the application.html file. And actually what I'll do here is I'll just quickly add some links. So, and actually before I go into that, I should show you where I'm even getting this from. So if you go to rails/info/routes, you can see all the routes that your application has access to. And if I search for user, we can see all of these routes that Devise gave us. So we want to do new registration path. I think that's what we want. Yeah, so that goes to that. So new user registration path. So we want to do a link to create an account, new user registration path, unless there's a current user. And I'm getting current user from Devise, so that basically means show this link unless there's already someone logged in, because we're not gonna, you can't create an account if you're already logged in. And then we'll also make one for sign in, and that is just new user session path. So we'll place that in here. And same thing, unless you can't sign in if you're already signed in. And then finally we will do, copy this, sign out, and this will be destroy user session path. And we'll do that if there's a current user, but I think we also want to do method delete, I think. Okay, so let's see if this works. So we'll go back to our home page. Okay, so we have create an account and sign in. So this is perfect. So let's do create an account. And I'll just do example@example.com, password and password. And we'll go ahead and click sign up. Okay, so we ran into this following error here, and I think I know what the problem is. So earlier, when we ran our migration, I kept this line uncommented, or I kept it commented out. I think I actually needed to uncomment it, but because I did not, I can't really run this migration again. So actually, it's not entirely true. Because I'm running locally, what I can do is I'm going to stop the server. I'm going to run Rails DB rollback. So that'll undo the last migration I just did. And I'm kind of lucky because I've only done one migration so far, and it's locally on my computer. So I'm not at the risk of having to roll back on something and then have my database be out of sync with either production or any other commits or branches. So what I'm going to do is I rolled that database migration back. I'm going to uncomment that. I'm going to clear it, and now I'm going to run Rails DB migrate again. Okay. And if I go into the schema, we can see that unconfirmed email is here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to run the Rails, I'm going to run Rails console to see if that example user was added to the database. If they were, I'm going to go ahead and delete them from there. So we can do user.count. Okay, so it looks like they weren't saved. Just want to double check. And now if I run form and start, let's try this again. And I should say I could have easily just like redid this whole thing and just edited out that mistake, but that's the kind of thing that happens a lot in web development, is like silly mistakes like that, and I figured I'd keep it in because that's just part of being a developer. So let's try this again. So create an account, example@example.com. I'm going to use password as the password. Click sign up. Okay. Well, I made a mistake there. I couldn't spell. Password. But that's actually good that we're seeing this, because it means the Devise is handling not only showing errors, but also making sure the stuff that your passwords match. Okay, so this is good. So we see this message up here, and that's because an application controller, these lines here. And if you look down in our console, you can see that an email was sent. Now, because I'm working locally, it's only happening through the console. Like, I don't actually have an email anywhere. And even if I did, I don't have access to this account. But we can just go ahead and copy this and paste it in. And actually, I should change that to, instead of 3,000 to 5,000. Okay, so cool. We successfully confirmed my address. Now if I do example@example.com and password, should be logged in. Cool, so that's good. I think one last thing I want to do is actually under development, I want to go back to the mailer, and I want to change this to port 5000 because Foreman is running us on port 5000. But just to make sure that actually works, I'm gonna stop my server, start it up again, and I'll make another account. And I just want to make sure that this actually does everything. And you can see here there's a sign out link. Let's actually make sure that works. So that works. Let's create another account. Example2 at example.com. And if I look in here, now it's localhost 5000. Let's just see if that worked. Okay. Sweet. So this is all set up. It doesn't look good, but it's the simplest way to get authentication up and running for our app at this time.